Welcome to Red Fracture TV. I, as always, am your host, Sean Chappell. This week, I thought I'd take a different approach to my video, and instead of reporting on the week's events, of which there have been few, I would instead narrate a time-lapse video of my latest painting in the Truth About Cats and Pumpkins series. This one has a Frankenstein theme, and I'm looking for a subtitle to describe the piece, so if during the viewing you come up with something you think would work, leave me a note in the comments below. Now I've got it all lined up. Grab your 3D glasses and let's go. So this is the beginning of my painting. I'm working on a small piece of paper, as you can see, and I work on a large upright drafting table. Any small pieces like this, it's easy enough just to tape it to the surface and work from there. I started with blue in the background, and the idea here was to work with complements, blue being a complement of orange, and of course good old Frank there was going to be orange, so putting the two of them together in a composition isn't a bad idea. But as I was going along, I was kind of finding that the vortexy type cloud composition I was coming up with was starting to take over the piece and be a little bit more ostentatious than I wanted it to be, and I wasn't really happy with the blue-purple combination that I was coming up with. I needed a storm, but I didn't need it to be the focus of the painting. So I struggled with it and struggled with it and struggled with it, and in the long run, I decided that this is not the direction that I wanted this piece to go in. So I decided to start over. I came up with another idea for the background. Again, I still needed a storm, but I wasn't really happy with the colors, so I went with something a little more somber. Of course, this is being gray. And I had the initial idea for the sun in the background and that light source for being kind of like an eye, something that might be looking from the background forward on the situation that was unfolding here. So, I was bouncing back and forth. I've got two airbrushes actually on the go in this composition, bouncing back and forth between red and gray, as you can see, and it makes things quite a bit faster to have two colors on the go at once, so I can do what I call the push-pull. I can bring things forward or flatten them out again with another color, which makes my job a lot easier. And at this point, I'm almost done. Well, the first pass on the background, it's kind of getting to a point where I can start on the main subject. And here we go. Again, working with two airbrushes. I had brown in one, and I had orange in the other. And I started with brown to get all of the shadows and the forms down. I had it all drawn out previous, so that when I removed my stencil, everything was ready to go. But I found in this composition, starting with the brown and then going with the orange over the top, it actually made all the brown look very somber, very drab, and it didn't really pop. It didn't have the warmth that I was looking for. So I think in future, when I do this again, I'm going to be working with the orange first and then going in with brown on top, just so that the colors actually reveal themselves the way that I want them to. You can see me bouncing around quite a bit and using a handheld shield to make sure that things have a good sharp edge. One of the things that, of course, airbrushing doesn't give you is a nice sharp edge. Everything, even when you're doing really fine lines, is very soft. So you need to do some kind of stenciling or use some kind of shield in order to get a hard edge with the actual airbrush itself. And another thing, you know, working on the drafting table, as it were, there makes it easy for me to spin the piece in any direction that I want to go in order to use that shield effectively. And I was working up the piece and getting it to a point where I was able to put some other shields back on it and work on this sort of ghostly apparition that was coming out of the bolt on, well, almost like a pipe really, out of Frank's neck there. I had the idea of kind of coming up with a ghostly image that was going to be coming up beside him and a skull and crossbones image. Did a little bit of brush work and a little bit of pencil work on that to highlight it. Then I jumped into doing the staples. Of course, the staples I'm just hand brushing in, and At this point in my technique, I'm actually having difficulties reconciling the look of brushwork with the look of the airbrush. Those two things, I'm still kind of figuring out my process there and making sure that they work together. Now, that initial skull, I really hated, and I had to take it out. It looked terrible. It didn't fit in with the rest of the piece. And I came up with another idea, another design, and here you can see it taking shape, of course. And after I had sort of figured this one out, using the airbrush a little bit more for its softer technique, I decided to get into, of course, the Bride of Frankenstein there, or the Bride of Kattenstein, whatever you want to call it, at the top of the piece there. And of course, the whole project here is that she's on top of the pumpkin, trying to bring it to life with a bolt of lightning. So here's the finished piece. I didn't quite catch all of it in time-lapse, but there's a nice close-up there of the skull and the way that it turned out. I'm really happy with that. In fact, I'm going to probably revisit this at some point. And there's, of course, the bride. It's a tiny, tiny little detail, but I worked really hard to work it up. And even the kite and everything else, it all came together fairly well. Not a bad piece overall. Wasn't that exciting? I hope it thrilled you the way that it did me. I find it fascinating, actually, to watch a painting to come together, especially when I know that the process is going to be either labor-intensive or the piece itself is being a stubborn jackass. If you liked this format, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do another one for your viewing pleasure in short order. Don't be afraid to start again. This most recent painting of mine went sideways on me pretty quickly, and even after starting over, I can't say that I'm super stoked about the way it turned out. I'm looking at it now more as a study for a bigger piece, which I've actually already sketched out. I think the image could be stronger and more impactful with a bit of development and a larger canvas. But, of course, I wouldn't have gotten to this point if I hadn't scrapped my initial offering. Not all art is art. Sometimes it's crap. And coming to that realization early on in the process will save you a lot of frustration and wasted time. Not everything that you do is going to be a masterpiece. And being honest with yourself sooner rather than later is a skill that I think everyone should cultivate. An added benefit to the technique of shit-canning your IPO if it's in a flaming tailspin is that what you do present to the public is your very best work. And that should always be in the forefront of your mind. I see a lot of artists putting absolutely every last thing that they produced out there for public consumption. And frankly, between you and I think this is a big mistake. The half-formed, the malformed, the unformed dregs of your creative career belong in only one place, the garbage can. Or, if you really want to show people the process of how you did create that masterpiece by dumping the 6 artworks that came previous to it, use Instagram or Facebook stories. A great way to show the process with a limited lifespan so your perfect rep won't be permanently marred. Don't be afraid to start again. Sometimes it's the right thing to do, even if you've put a ton of time and materials into a piece already. Beware of the sunk cost fallacy. I'll leave you to look that one up. It is my belief that starting over when things are going sideways will lead you to a stronger practice and a stronger body of work. If you like the content of this video, or if you have an idea for something you'd like me to talk about in one of my weekly vids, leave me a note in the comment below. Please share this on social media if you think that the content is pertinent to your friends and family. And if you would like to be the first ones to know about when my new videos are uploaded, please subscribe to my channel. When I get to 100 subscribers, YouTube will give me my own personalized red fracture URL, and that will be really spiffy. For now, that is all. Thanks for watching.